Hi, this is Maury Biner. I'm an associate broker at Vista Sotheby's International Realty. And welcome to Mr. Neighborhood of the South Bay Talks Real Estate. And today we have with us Rick Edler. Rick is the, what are you? What is your title, Rick?
CEO.
CEO. Rick is the CEO of Vista Sotheby's International Real Estate.
Just by title, though.
But-
You can call me anything you want.
Okay. Well, I'll call him boss. He's my boss. And I think you'll enjoy our time with Rick. Very informative. So let's start with the first question, Rick.
Okay. Shoot.
Vista Sotheby's is the number one in several categories in the South Bay. Can you elaborate on that and tell us why you think the company has become so successful in such a short time, other than the fact that you're the boss and you run the company?
Well, that was probably a good reason. Now that you brought it up, I would have to accentuate that. I think the success of Vista Sotheby's International Realty in the South Bay has been really as a result of the people that make it up. We are comprised of experienced agents. Myself, over 30 years in the business. I joined it. My mom brought me on board. She would not admit to more years than that. But most of the agents within the company have a lot of experience and time. But they all have kind of a common vocabulary and DNA. It's a very collaborative culture, very focused on customer service, trusted by peers and others. Also seeking mastery, but not just mastery of themselves and the craft, but of each other. So it's very supportive. So when you bring this kind of group of professionals together in a industry that we love, it kind of just feeds on itself. So I've been fortunate to watch it and be part of it, but it's not as a result of any one of us. It's a result of all of us working together with the common goals and helping each other reach that. So it's just success together.
Okay. Second question. We all know the real estate market in the nation and the South Bay has been hot for several years.
Yep.
But times there are changing.
Yes.
How do you think that our community is faring right now?
So I view our current market a little bit like grief. Grief. So when something happens, typically tragic or painful, the very first reaction is shock, then there's anger, organization, and acceptance. It's kind of the grief wheel. We had a very robust market, a lot of demand for the South Bay, the great communities, the great schools, the proximity, the quality of life, and then the interest rates went up a significant amount. That was really shock. Like all of them, I said, gosh, what's going on here? And then there was the anger phase where everybody's mad at the market, they're mad at the feds for doing that, they're mad at overspending, kind of like what we went through in previous markets. There's that anger phase. Now we've moved past into more of an acceptance. People are recognizing, okay, interest rates are a little bit higher, but they're going to start coming back down again. That shock is over. All the fundamentals for the South Bay are still there. It's a great community, great schools, great people, great homes. Quality of life is exceptional. It's what's brought people here for decades and it continues to bring people here. So I would anticipate, as we have slightly higher interest rates and taking some of the buyers out of the market currently, that we're going to have a quieter couple months. I would anticipate a strong fourth quarter and a very strong next year again. Not high appreciation, but not decrease. And I imagine that our appreciation will probably be between 4 and 6% next year. We've seen in the 20s in the last 2 years, which that's not sustainable. We don't want to sustain it. I mean, we'd like to make more money in our homes, of course, but we also have to pay the consequences when people will get to a point where nobody can afford the homes. So it's a healthy growth next year. We'll get through this quarter. All the circumstances are still there. Still quality of life, still great properties, still great opportunities here, and it's still good product. We have such a diversity in our industry. In the 80s, it was all aerospace, and then kind of the 90s, it became .com, but we've become so diversified that when we saw Toyota leave, didn't affect the market. When we see large industries come and go, it doesn't affect the market because it's so diversified. So I think that it's going to be not what we experienced in the last 18 months, but still healthy going forward for the next 6 months, and then it'll get actually stronger next year.
Well, Rick, you just answered my third question as well, but let me ask it anyway,
Okay.
in case you want to elaborate a little on it. Being a Sotheby's franchise owner, you have your finger on the pulse of real estate in the country. Where do you think the market will be in a year or in the near future?
So let me take a trip back, and then we'll go forward, if you will. Prior to COVID, that event in March, real estate was local, but even within local areas, there was different price points behaved differently. There is what I call the entry level beginning, there's the mid-range, and the high end. And each market has its own definition of what those three levels are. But you could have a very, very hot market in the low end, entry level. The mid-range might be cool, and the high end could be really hot too. All three of those markets don't behave the same way. And working with an agent, people would analyze and say, okay, my price point, I know my neighbor down the street might be getting multiple offers, I might not, because my product is that different or priced in a different category. And interest rates affects this considerably.
Yeah.
We also saw that other markets, Oregon typically was 6 to 9 months behind us. We are typically 3 months behind Northern California, and Hawaii was typically 6 months behind us. So what would happen here in one of those price points, we would see elsewhere. So we could look to San Francisco and see how that market happened. All of that got condensed, and during COVID, the entry level, the mid-range, and the high end all behaved in sync. All of them in all of the different markets went up. All of them experienced the same kind of heat, whether it was priced at something at 1 million, 2 million, or 10 million, it still got multiple offers.
Yeah.
We're now coming back to more of a balanced market. So looking to San Francisco as a leading indicator, we're seeing that good money is still going after the high end and the entry level, but the mid-range, which is probably most interest rate affected, is cooling off. So where the market is going, we are probably going to see different behavior at different price points. We're going to see strong activity looking elsewhere in the lower end or entry level, and we're going to see a much weaker position in the mid-range, and then the high end is probably going to follow the mid-range over time and get a little bit weaker. So what is mid-range, what's low end, and what's high end? Each market's different, and that's talking to different agents and find out where it is. But all of those other markets are also experiencing good growth. Now, some markets, Utah, Idaho, which follow us, are seeing negative. They had a little bit too much frothiness. I would say those markets are going to be a little bit softer going forward. Arizona, Florida, Idaho, and Utah are all general areas because there's hot pockets in it. They saw kind of this flush of money come in from California, and some of those people are coming back, and it's experiencing that drop.
All right. Thank you very much, Rick. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Happy to.
And thank you for joining us for Mr. Neighborhood Talks Real Estate. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That was great, Rick.
Excellent.
Didn't have to do much.
Cool.